Now, I'm going to combine some of these together into something I call a pet. The problem with the follow is the AI gets there and it just stands there and it doesn't do anything. But I'm going to combine idle and seek behaviors so that when the AI is close enough, it'll still continue to wander around. But if it ever gets too far away, it will switch to seeking and it'll follow the player. So our character will now have two behaviors, idling and seeking. Idling where it wanders around and seeking where it follows the player. I'm going to do this again with these two circles that surround our player, actually surround our target that the player will seek, offset in front of the player. When the pet is inside the outer circle, it will do this wandering idle function. If it moves outside that outer circle, it will seek and it will keep seeking until it's inside the inner circle, at which point it'll revert to idle. Let me say that again. If it's inside the inner circle, it will idle, it'll wander. If it ever wanders outside the outer circle, it will begin to seek and follow the player. And it'll do that until it reaches the inner circle, at which point it reverts to idling that will then continue until it either wanders out of the outer circle or, of course, the player moves. Now, there are two approaches to doing this. One, we can write a program that has both idle and seek functions, or we can add as components both the wander script that does our idle behavior and the follow script that does our following behavior, and add a third script that will manage which of those two scripts is active. So over here in the pet scene, I have my teddy bear, and I'll close the transform and the animator and the character controller. Show target, I'll turn that off too. So I have a wander script, I have a follow script, exactly as I did for the individual characters. But now I have this seek wander manager that's going to decide which of these two scripts is controlling our character. We can turn scripts on and off from other scripts. So the seek wander manager has the outer distance, the inner distance. It has some Booleans, is wandering and is seeking, and it has cache variables for our two scripts, follow and wander, type follow and type wander, follow and wander. And initially these are false, the target is null, and inner and outer distances are specified. So start is going to cache the animator, it's going to find the player, it's going to get component the two scripts that we need, follow and wander. It's going to set each of those scripts to be enabled false. This is going to turn off this little check mark next to the scripts when they're both turned off. And so initially here in start, both those scripts are off. No one is controlling our player. Now, this is a coroutine. It's an I enumerator, so we can use that yield statement. So if I have an animator, I'm going to, again, do my random speed for how fast the animations play. And then I'll enter this while true loop that now has two functions. It has a start coroutine wandering and a start coroutine seeking. And because this is, these are yielded, it means it's going to block on these. So when I start wandering, it's going to wait here until wandering finishes. When I start seeking, it's going to wait here until seeking finishes, and it's just going to continue to stir in this while true loop. Now, if you remember, I started off with uh, both is wandering and is seeking false. So when I enter wandering, if is seeking is false, it's going to yield break, which means end this coroutine. Yield break stops the coroutine. And so it will go back to the main routine. Oh, but is seeking is false. That's is seeking is false. So if this is true, is seeking is false, it's not going to yield break. So it's going to set is wandering to be true. It's going to enable the wander script. In other words, turn this one on, and then it's going to enter its own while true loop that is going to get the position in front of the player, form the distance. If the distance is greater than the outer distance, well, it's going to form the distance. If the distance is greater than the outer distance, that means it's wandered out of the big circle. I'm going to set is wandering to false, turn off the wanderer, and break. If distance is still inside that inner circle, it's just going to do a yield return null, which waits one frame, and this will continue to spin. So this is just mediating which of the two scripts, wander and follow, is controlling our character. Now the seeking script looks identical, except now if is wandering is true, we break. But of course, is wandering just got set to be false by the wanderer. And so it doesn't break, it sets is seeking to be true. It turns on the follow script that now controls our character. And again, we enter a while loop where we just figure out the distance to the position, check to see if it's inside now the inner circle. If it's inside the inner circle, it has found its character. So we said it's seeking to false, turn off, follow, break. And if it's not inside the inner distance, yield a frame and go around the while loop. So with the exposed target, we can assign who the pet will follow. By default, it's the player. We could put a fixed target in the scene, and the pet would stay around that fixed target. We could put an invisible cube out somewhere, and the pet would just wander around it. Or we can get really fancy and chain pets together so that they follow each other around, all of which will get different behavior. So here's my pet. So there are the inner and outer circles. Now he's inside the inner circle, so now he's wandering. Let me turn on gizmos so that we can see some lines. Turn on gizmos, pet. Both the wander and the follow scripts have some debug lines in them that show the wanted distance, wander direction, and the current direction. And so as this thing is switching back and forth between its behavior, right now he's just kind of wandering around me. Every once in a while he goes outside the outer circle and then he comes back in again. And if I take off, and he of course follows me and eventually gets inside the circle and goes back to wandering. Here's well, this is a chain of followers, which one of them follows me, He's caught there. One of them follows me. The second one follows it. The third one follows the second one, and so forth. There's a chain of pets. I believe one of them is tasked with following me. So if I kind of pull away here, one of them follows me and the other ones all follow it. When they get close enough, they start to wander around each other. And here's a chain of pets where the first one follows the last one, the second one follows the first one, and so forth. So they're just all kind of randomly churning around, chasing each other and wandering around each other and doing all kinds of strange stuff. Just for fun, here's a follower that's following a fleer, and so the follower is going to keep chasing the fleers keep running away from the follower, and eventually they run off the world. Just to show you that this can all be done on terrain, here's a bunch of pets on a terrain, because these are Mechanim characters with character controllers to run them. They work fine on terrains. They don't penetrate the terrain. This little guy in front of me is a follower, so he just wants to be in front of me, where he's very happy just standing there. The other ones are, of course, pets. And over here is a big guy who, if I chase, he runs away from me. And these are all using exactly the same animator. Oh, and here's the same thing, except now instead of teddy bears, I have the dudes for my characters, the dude that we did in the Mechanim. And again, I did nothing but put the appropriate scripts on them, and away they go. The animations are all set up, and it uses exactly the same animator that we set up in the when we were doing the character. So all of that's pretty cool. Let me stop sharing here. Those are basic AIs. I believe if you look at the final game project requirement, one of them is that you have an AI. There is an advanced training that is AIs using some sophisticated scripting techniques. These are fairly simple, straightforward ones using just mono behavior scripts. But you can have a look at that if you'd rather see how those AIs work. You're welcome to use these AIs as your AI, and you can use my scripts if you want to. It's all fair game in here, but in your final game, there has to be an AI. And we're going to talk more about AIs. We're not done with AIs yet. I'm going to continue on with this in the next lecture. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop recording, so I'll see you in class. Bye.